So, what if there was an actual formula for success? A master key that could unlock your absolute greatest potential. It's this incredible idea that has fascinated people for well over a century. And today we're going to dig into it and see if it really holds up. Our search for this key, it doesn't start with a formula. It starts with a person and a prediction about a brilliant young man that, looking back now, couldn't have been more wrong. So who do you think said this? It was a Harvard professor. And who is he talking about? A kid who had just dropped out of his class to start a tiny little company in New Mexico. A young Bill Gates. I mean, just look at the massive gap between how things looked and how they turned out. What his professor saw as a total waste was actually the beginning of a revolution. A small code company became, well, Microsoft. This supposedly misguided path led to a global empire. So you have to ask, what did Gates see that his own brilliant professor couldn't? What is it that separates that kind of vision from just, common sense? Well, it turns out this question is not new at all. Long before Bill Gates ever saw a computer, a group of thinkers were trying to write down the exact principles that lead to these kinds of unbelievable achievements. They truly believed there was a system. They were on the hunt for what one of them actually called the master key, a repeatable, almost scientific way to turn your ambition into reality. They were convinced that success isn't an accident. It's the result of following specific mental and even spiritual laws. And this whole philosophy, it didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Back in the early 20th century, you had these pioneers like Wallace D. Wattles, Charles F. Haanel with his famous master key system, and of course, Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. For this explainer, we're really going to zone in on two of these key architects, Haanel and Hill. Okay, so let's start with Charles F. Haanel. His central idea is both incredibly simple and honestly pretty profound. It's the foundation for his entire system, and it all comes down to the relationship between our inner world and our outer world. Haanel's main argument is right there in that quote. He's saying our external reality, everything, our health, our money, our relationships, it's just a mirror reflecting our internal state. So if you want to change your life, you don't start by changing your circumstances. You start by changing your consciousness. So what is this world within? Think of it as the workshop in your mind. It's the realm of your thoughts, your imagination, your core beliefs. Haanel taught that this isn't just some place for passive daydreaming. It is an active, creative space where the blueprint for your entire life gets designed before it ever gets built. Now, how does this actually work? Well, Haanel proposed that our individual minds are plugged into this vast, intelligent energy field that he called the universal mind. You can think of it like the source code of the universe, an infinite field of potential that holds all power, all wisdom, and all substance. And the bridge connecting your world within to that universal mind is what Haanel calls the law of attraction. He described it as a natural law, just like gravity. The idea is that your thoughts, especially when you charge them up with strong emotion and belief, they act like magnets. They draw the people, the resources, and the circumstances you need from the universal mind to make that thought a physical reality. And he even gives us the practical steps. First, you have to know exactly what you want. A crystal clear, detailed mental picture. Second, you have to impress that picture onto your subconscious mind. You do that through intense focus and feeling, really believing it's already yours. And third, and this is so important, you have to let go of the how. You trust that the universal mind, this infinite intelligence, will handle the details and figure out how to bring it to you. Okay, so that's Haanel. Now let's bring in our second thinker, Napoleon Hill. Because while Haanel was all about the individual's inner world, Hill added this incredibly powerful social dynamic that he believed was absolutely essential for any major success. Hill called this the Mastermind Alliance. And listen, this is so much more than just teamwork or networking. He saw it as this synergistic blend of knowledge and effort between people, all working toward a single goal in a spirit of total harmony. He actually believed that when minds come together like this, a third, invisible, more powerful mind is created, the mastermind itself. But Hill was incredibly specific about the one thing that was completely non-negotiable. He says it right here, crystal clear, perfect harmony. Without that foundation of trust, mutual respect, and a shared vision, the whole alliance just falls apart. It's the harmony that lets that creative energy flow. To really get what a mastermind is, it helps to see what it isn't. A mastermind is a deeply personal alliance. It's built on trust, and it's all about mutual growth. Now, compare that to a typical business contract. A contract is just a formal agreement. It's transactional. I do this, you pay me that. A mastermind alliance is creative. It's synergistic. It's about building something totally new together, not just checking boxes on an obligation. So, we have these powerful century-old ideas, right? You've got the creative inner world from Haanel and the synergistic power of a harmonious team from Hill. So now let's bring it all back to where we started, that Harvard dropout in Albuquerque. So the big question is, was Bill Gates consciously following some secret success formula? Probably not. But, and this is the amazing part, whether he knew it or not, his actions are a perfect illustration of these very principles. The parallels are just undeniable. First, just look at his vision. Gates held this crystal clear picture in his mind, a computer on every desk and in every home. That's a perfect example of what Haanel called forming the ideal. Next, his focus. At Harvard, he was so obsessed with the computer lab he practically lived there. That is the kind of intense concentration Haanel said you needed to impress your idea on the universe. And finally, his team. He didn't do it alone. He built Microsoft with Paul Allen and a core group who shared his vision. That's a textbook Napoleon Hill mastermind alliance right there. And that really brings us to the final question, doesn't it? Whether you call it the master key or the law of attraction or just plain unwavering vision, these stories suggest that success is not random. So is it some literal formula that you follow step by step? Or is it about building a vision so clear, a focus so intense, and an alliance so strong that the world simply has no other choice but to rearrange itself around you? That's the powerful idea behind the master key.